welcome back to another episode of the Between the Lines podcast. Today, we'll be talking about a variety of sports, starting with the postponement of sports across all different sports in America related to the Jacob Blake killing and the racial injustices. And we're going to briefly touch on the NBA lottery, the NBA playoffs, and lastly, end up with some NFL conversation due to the season starting here, I believe, on September 10th. So, let's just start off here with the postponement. So we saw the NBA, MLB, NHL, and MLS all postpone games. And let me hear from you guys. What were your thoughts in the actions and decisions to postpone games? And then what is the effect that that has on society? So anybody can kick off with that.
All right. First of all, I think that's great. And I think the more these things happen, it brings more, eyes to situations that are happening in America. And I think it's good that the players in sports are using their platform for these reasons. So I think it's good that it may suck that we're missing out on some games, but it's good that to shine light on something that's also a little bit more important than just playing a game. So.
Hmm.
I think the statement they want to make it's obviously correct, and when it comes to impact in society, I feel like some people just when stuff like this happens, they just tend to like turn their heads on the opposite ways and pretend nothing is happening, and that's been happening for years to come. And I feel like when leagues like the NBA do a statement like this, these people are forced to look at the situation and acknowledge that it's wrong and there's something that needs to be done. Some people get all offended saying, "Oh, you shouldn't mix politics with sports." No, you should. You should. In my opinion, it's one of the best platforms to promote the justice that needs to be made. And so yeah, I'm totally on the side of the players that took that decision. I think it's a big thing to do. Although the NBA struggled to do the bubble, and now postponing might seem a crazy idea, but justice is above anything and sports obviously, so I think they just use the platform they have correctly.
Yeah, I agree fully. I think when some people make the argument, what do sports have to do with, race conversations, or what do sports have to do with politics? I think that the argument that's to be made on behalf of the players is that by them postponing games and not going out there and playing, they're saying that, hey, what's happening in the world right now is so wrong and it's such a big problem that we're not going to go take the floor, the field, the ice rink, and do what we usually do. And I think that it's kind of bad if people are just looking at it in the sense that, well, my favorite team's not playing tonight. Like, fuck this. My, like, my plans for this evening are what I thought they were going to be. But I think the biggest thing is, yeah, it's just they're making people aware of what's going on. And by not playing, like, they're doing that very clearly. And I think that the topic of them, I know the NBA talked about actually calling everything off, disrupting the bubble, having everyone leave, and just dismantling the playoffs this year. So quickly, I want to ask you guys on your thoughts about that and what that could have potentially looked like.
Um, that's a tough one. I think if the players want to do that, that's something that the players should go for and do. I can't really sit here and be like, oh nah, like they shouldn't do that. They're there. They want to make a stance, and that's what they have to do. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out too. I don't think we get enough recognition for the WNBA. They're always ahead of all of this, so
That's
they're
right.
always ahead of it. They're always on top of it, and you have players such as Maya Moore who stopped her career just for things that people are talking about now, that things that NBA is working on boycotting, and all these other situations. So just want to shout that out too.
uh
Absolutely.
Good thing you brought up the WNBA, and I totally agree, man. I mean, if they stop the playoffs or they postpone it or whatever, it's for a bigger cause, man. I see people hating on that a lot on social media, saying, like you said, you shouldn't mix sports with politics, and that's nothing to do with it, man. It has. It's people that are playing. If these people want to protest for the right motives, then let them do it. They're people like us. They're not. They shouldn't be forced to be playing when social injustice is going on. And if that's one way to affect society and make people look at the situation as they should, then go for it. You got to use what you have.
Yeah, certainly. One thing that was kind of disappointing for me, just as being an Ace fan. So the the day that the postponement began for Major League Baseball, they's actually decided to go ahead and play their game that night, and the day after they decided to postpone the game. So I get like, sometimes it can be kind of confusing and trying to, come up with a majority decision in a group of a baseball club that there's now almost 30 players, so it gets difficult. But I think they kind of missed the ball a little bit. They should have done it the night of. Obviously I'm kind of, picking thorns here in an argument, and at least they did it. That's the bigger thing. But I think baseball could have handled it a little bit better. And then lastly, I want to say so there's another instance where um, players thought about postponing games due to racial injustices. So back in 2014, the Clippers and the Warriors were playing in the playoffs when the whole Donald Sterling situation came about. And obviously, we've heard the tapes and the pretty vulgar comments that he made. And there's all these reports that I was actually going back through reading today about both teams having conversations about just coming on the floor and warm ups with these special t shirts, made about what happened and then just walking off. So I think that it's really cool that like the evolution of like kind of what's going on and as things have gotten worse in the world that players are standing up and doing what they believe is right.
Definitely, I agree with that one too. That's good that all these players are standing up too. Like I said at the beginning, it's good that they're making or they're striving for change, and I think they're gonna keep doing it until we see some change, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna quote J.R. Smith here. He said on social media, no, that's for real. He said, "You don't hear us, and now you won't see us too." So like I have to agree what he says. These statements against social injustice it's a thing that's not from now. It's coming from years, but people just don't look at it. They look at the T-shirts and they look at the things they do, and they be like, all right, fine, whatever. But now, when they are stopping, when they're actually making changes in the league, people are starting to look because they they don't want to to miss out on the NBA. They don't want to be without sports again. So people are starting to care again. So this quote from J.R. Smith is actually a very important thing, because people haven't been listening for years. So once people just don't listen to you and they ignore you, you got to take it the next step. So yeah, they just doing the right thing. I think I truly believe that.
Yeah, 100%. And then obviously too, especially with the sports of basketball and football, those are sports that are predominantly, African American athletes out there. So that, that's a thing in and of itself. You look at baseball, there's Latin guys and guys from the Caribbean and, but for the majority it's a lot of, white dudes out there, but I think you're seeing these big statements from the NFL and the NBA because they're going out there, whether it's every Sunday or every game to go play a basketball game, like putting it all out there. But, they're still, well, not they, everybody is still having to deal with all the problems in the world. But I think that the NFL and the NBA, NFL was slowly to, kind of catch the train and get on board here. But the NBA is just doing a great job of, kind of tackling this whole situation head on.
Agreed.
100%.
All right, I think that's a solid wrap there for that intro on the conversation of race and sports postponement and the whole Jacob Blake situation. I think we can go into the NBA lottery. We kind of touched on this a little bit in the last episode, but I'll kind of run it back here. So at 1, the T Wolves are selecting 2, the Warriors, 3, the Hornets, 4, the Bulls, 5, the Cavs. Screw the rest on. Who cares? So I want to start with this question, guys. Is this the worst talent pool in a draft that we've seen over the last 4 to 5 years?
Oh, okay. All right. This is a tough one because outside of the top three, nobody has really made shine in the as far as like highlights go or like college basketball. And then when you think about the college basketball this past season, there was never really a sure there were players who stepped up and they were good and all that. But if you think about it, this season was so up for grabs. Like nobody really knew who was the 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the whole season. Like it moved so much. There's just
I don't
so
even
much
think
in the air.
I don't even think they still know now who the 1, 2, 3, 4 is.
Yeah. So everything's in the air. So as far as the talent goes, I don't know. I don't think anybody's gonna be interested after probably. I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna give them at least 7 picks. I think people want to see at least 7. After that, I
Okay,
think you're gonna see players who could do good or could do bad. I don't know.
I
all right.
have to give it.
before you hop in, Tiago, I'm gonna ask this question to both of you. Let's phrase it like this: do you see any player in this draft that will be, let's say, an eight-time All Star over the course of their NBA career?
Sure.
LaMelo Ball.
Okay, you think like he's okay?
Well, no,
Nah,
That's
no,
fair.
no, no, no funny, bro. He's good. He is a baller,
Oh
and
no,
he's
he's good for
matured.
sure.
So
Anthony Edwards will be for sure, man. I think. I think he. I
Okay,
think he
yeah, no, I
has.
feel you guys. I'm just not. I really like Anthony Edwards, but I'm not as high on both of those players. Like looking at their ceilings as being that high. But I
mhm.
mean, inevitably, at least one of these guys is going to pan out to being a pretty great player in the league. It's just odds at that point.
Yeah, I got some stuff to say about this draft class. I think at first sight it might look like you said, Max, like very untalented and just top three picks and that's it. But I think I have a player in mind that I think it might be a surprise. Cole Anthony. He's not
Mm.
projected to be one of the top picks, but I've been watching the kid
Do they
play,
have
and
him in the lottery? Is he still projected to go in the lottery?
I
I
don't
think a
know, man.
lottery pick. I think like top
Yeah,
I think he's close. He's close to around 10 or so. I think around
mhm.
that range.
What I'm saying is like he's not on the top three. There's a lot of guys that
Mhm.
I don't even. There's a couple of Europeans too, and
Mhm.
but Cole Anthony is a guy that I've been watching for a while now, and I think he can be like a dark horse in this draft. It might be like a Donovan Mitchell kind of pick where you pick him at like in the middle lottery or after it, and then he becomes like a superstar right off the bat, or he might just become a bust. I don't know, man. I don't know, but uh
Yeah.
all I have to say about this draft is that if the Timberwolves trade this pick, or they don't pick or they don't pick Anthony Edwards on the first pick, they're gonna mess it up because the Timberwolves have a vast history of not drafting right. Steph Curry all over again, 2 point
Okay,
guard
let
for
me
him.
ask this question too. So let's say the T Wolves, instead of making this pick, they trade the pick with another draft pick or a player that's currently on the roster, and they go get, somewhat of a veteran player that's been in the league and is really solid and can give you minutes in a starting role. Do you think that is that a win in terms of you now having D'Angelo Russell, Cat, and
No,
So I was
No,
listening to this podcast the other day, and Aaron Gordon was the name that got tossed in. So what do
no,
you think of? I don't know if Malik Beasley's going to start, but Aaron Gordon, D'Angelo Russell, and Cat, is that formidable, or it's not worth trading that pick?
no,
it's not worth it. You have the
no,
first pick. I understand, like, maybe, you'd wanna trade, but or for Aaron Gordon, but nah, it's the first pick. You can trade this player, and you have the opportunity to draft a player that's gonna fit into your system. That means you have to make the right pick, and
Yeah,
you get the first pick.
Cat doesn't work with another
true.
superstar, man. Cat is I don't think he's mature enough to play with another superstar. And we saw that with Jimmy Butler, man. If he gets paired up with a superstar that is established already and tries to take over the franchise, it works with D'Lo because they're friends from a long age now. They've
Mhm.
been friends for a while. But if you put on like I mean, I'm not even going to say Aaron Gordon, any kind of superstar that becomes the face of the franchise or becomes like as good as Cat, let's say, it just doesn't work, man. It doesn't work at all because like people been saying that Cat is soft playing with other superstars and he loses his motivation very quick. None of that. So, in my opinion, when you have to work with that, because Cat is a superstar, but you need to keep him motivated on the team. If you want to work with that, just draft Anthony Edwards and let the future tell where the team is going. Because Cat is young and D'Lo is young too. So
Let
why
me
should
ask y'all real
we?
quick.
Yeah,
Let me
let's go.
ask y'all. So what do the T Wolves necessarily need? Because I thought they need. Do they need a shooting guard, or like what is their
Yeah,
position of need?
I
if
think
you
I
play
think they
D'Lo at
need
one,
they need wings is what they
yeah,
need.
you play D'Lo at one, you put Anthony Edwards at two, and that's a wrap. That's a nice team right there. You still got a good bench from that trade. You got Malik Beasley, like you said. I mean, I feel like the Timberwolves, it's a no-brainer right here. You shouldn't trade for a superstar. They made that mistake before, and it just didn't work out. They made the playoffs that season for a win, a last
Yeah,
game
right.
win. That was horrible. That was completely a flop season. So don't do that mistake again. Just draft a player and let the
Yeah.
future tell because you got young players out there. And Aaron Gordon is not worth a first round of a first overall pick. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, no,
Yeah, you know
I
what? You're
nah,
right.
if you can make a trade though, man, I'm just saying, look at it like this. You know what you're gonna get from Gordon. He can play defense. He can slash on the paint. His 3-point shooting has improved a little bit over the last few years. My whole point is, look, yeah, you may think Anthony Edwards is going to turn into this star player, and he sure may as well possibly do that. But I think that if you're not super high on the players in this draft and you want to flip it to get something where you know exactly what the commodity is that you're getting,
And you're gonna win
I
rings.
think that all teams in this draft are thinking about the possibilities of trades at the moment. Maybe they don't do them, but I think if you're a general manager in a front office, you have to do your due diligence to see what you could possibly get.
The
Right.
only
Well,
trade I would do, I'm sorry, the only trade I would do for this first overall pick is if the Sixers want to trade Ben Simmons and they want the first overall pick from the Timberwolves. That's the only way I'd be
That's an
trading this
interesting
pick.
conversation right there
that
too, because
is
I don't know who's getting traded. Is it Embiid or is it Simmons? Because I don't know, and I think it could be either one of them, depending on what kind of
Not
haul in
Embiid though.
return the Sixers get back for it.
Not Embiid though. Ben
I feel
Simmons, I
like
would
I
bring
feel
it
like
in.
Simmons would be on the way out.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say though, I think there's one team out of this top three that is in the best position for trading, and it's the Warriors.
Yes.
Because I
For
mean,
Embiid.
you
For
know, they're
Embiid.
set. They can do whatever they want.
Yes. Yes.
No, I
If
mean,
the
if the Warriors were trying to get Embiid, the Warriors would have to do so much more than that second
Well,
pick. You'd have
well,
to,
not just for Embiid, maybe like another player around the league. I mean, you
yeah.
could. I feel like you could set up, kind of any trade for the Warriors.
But
You
listen,
know,
you got
From
stuff to trade for Embiid. If you trade like Eric Pascal plus this pick for Embiid, or just add another player like Jordan Poole or whatever for the Sixers, that's a wrap, man. That's more than enough. Especially if Embiid wants out, because with this Ben Simmons situation and they getting swept on the first round of the playoffs. If Embiid wants out and they still win like the second overall pick plus Eric Pascal, that's good for both sides because then you pair up Embiid with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, and that's the big four again. You know what I'm talking about? Like the Warriors would be back on track, and that would be a crazy team once again. So I don't know. That's a win-win situation.
It would be interesting for sure. I still don't think that that trade offer from the Warriors would be enough to get Joel Embiid. But
I
yeah,
don't know, man.
that would be nuts. I think guys like, say what you want about Jordan Poole, man, but I don't. He'd be an absolute throw in there for hey, we're giving you this,
He's
this, and that.
good.
No, by the way, you can have Jordan Poole because we don't really know what he's capable of doing, but he was pretty bad last year.
He was
I will
not
say
bad.
this
What do
though.
you mean?
I will say this, Tiago. You mentioned Pascal. I don't think they should get rid
He's
of him.
solid.
You don't
They
think
shouldn't. They
yeah.
shouldn't. But
No,
when it comes to getting Embiid and making a big four again, a big four, no, big three, man. Damon Green is not a big three again. No, he's not anymore. Whatever.
that's what I'm
Uh,
saying.
yeah,
Pascal's a better version of Green.
yeah, but they don't want Green. That's what I'm saying. You cannot put Green on the package because he's old. So he got exposed this last season. Like they're not gonna trade for him.
I think some teams would take Draymond. It would just have to be the right fit in terms of what they're getting and like the scheme that Draymond is going to come in and play with. Because obviously, as we've seen, he can quickly get very unhappy if he feels that he's not being used properly or the players around him aren't playing up to par.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys though. If the Warriors end up not trading, who do you think they should pick?
Um, Between the top three, I think it's just a matter of who picks who. So if Anthony Edwards goes one, maybe they go Wiseman, maybe
I
they
think
go
they should
Ball.
go
I don't
Wiseman.
know.
I think they have
I
enough.
think
Everything
that's how the top
Alright.
three has to go.
Yeah.
Everything that I've read and seen over the last months indicates that the Warriors are not too keen on Wiseman, drafting
What?
him there at 2, but they might still go. Maybe it's all just smoke and mirrors, and that's not true, and they might draft him. But I don't know. There's not a lot of game tape on him. I know he was highly touted, and, in the top of that recruiting class going into Memphis before kind of the whole suspension and opting out. But I don't know. I can't say who's going to go 1, 2, or 3, but I think the Hornets are in a really nice position there at 3. I think they're going to end up getting someone pretty solid, assuming they don't find a way to fuck it up. Because to be perfectly honest, I mean, I being at 3 in this draft isn't a bad thing.
Oh
Like
my
sure if
god.
you're the
Okay,
Wolves and you
Matt.
want Anthony Edwards, that's fine. But I think at 3, there's going to be players there because there's going to be players like Toppin at 3, Okoro from Auburn. There's that foreign dude, Denny something, that's coming over, and he's touted well. So I think, like I said, assuming they don't find a way to fuck it up, I think the Hornets are in a nice position at 3.
Gonna
They
end up with
are in a nice
Lamelo.
position.
They will
They are
end
in
up
a
with
very
Lamelo.
nice position, but
Yeah.
they are the Charlotte Hornets or the
Yeah.
Charlotte whatever, and they are going to find a way to somehow mess this up.
hmm
I hope they prove me wrong, but just looking back at the past, I don't know how. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they are,
It
and
will be
I
the
just hate
Hornets
to see it.
trading for Aaron Gordon, that third overall pick.
Look, I'm not even a Hornets fan, and I'm that mad about it. That's what living in Charlotte is. Just
Yeah,
knowing that
man.
this year comes around, they're gonna mess it up.
Oh my
hmm
God. North Carolina needs some boost, man. They it's gonna be hard enough just to watch the Panthers this year. Rutgers and McCaffrey running back and forth, back and forth. You need something good. You need LaMelo Ball up there, man, to get some views for real.
Yeah.
the last thought that I have about the draft is that I think a few years from now, I think that Obi Toppin is going to be one of the players that should have probably got selected a little bit higher than he's going to end up being. I really like his game. I think it translates really well to the style of basketball that's played today in the NBA. He can move, he's athletic, he can score from in and out. So I really like his game. And I think some team's going to be really happy that they got him in this
Where's he
draft, where,
projected?
whether that's 3 to 8. He's going to be somewhere from 3 to 8, is what I think. Maybe 3 to 6 even.
That could be a good top three. I wouldn't be mad at that if one of them picked that.
Mhm.
That's a solid player to use. So you can't count him out
Eh,
either.
yeah. Any last thoughts from you guys before we go to the playoff situation right now?
Just don't sleep on Cole Anthony, man. He's a beast,
Yeah.
bro. I just hope he goes on to the right feet. You know who he reminds me of? Kind of a Kevin Porter Jr. situation where you kind of get forgotten in the draft board and you just like end up going on.
Michael.
I don't think.
Michael Porter.
No. Kevin Porter. Because Kevin was supposed to. I remember like Kevin Porter a few months before the draft happened. People were saying like, oh, he's gonna fall for the Heat, and I personally wanted him on the Heat. We ended up going with Tyler Hero, which was not a bad pick at all. But what I'm saying is like, I can see Cole Anthony just being forgotten somehow, because
Yeah. I mean, he got injured there at the end, or I think actually near the
exactly,
middle point of the season for UNC, so he didn't go all the way through. But I think you're right. I don't know if he'll
exactly.
be a star, but I think he'll be a really solid NBA player.
I'm saying this because Kevin Porter Jr. is becoming a star, and people are still sleeping on him on the NBA. Although the games where he played over 20 minutes, he balled out. So, I see this a similar situation right here. Players just being slept on, and all of a sudden, wow, Cole Anthony's a superstar. I didn't remember he was in the league. So
hmm
we'll see. We'll see about that. Let's see who drafts him too.
Only time will tell with these draft picks and all these players. But let's transition to the playoffs. So at this point in time, the East is wrapped up in the first round. We still have a few teams playing in the Western Conference first round playoffs. I'll start and take this one on the chin. I was talking all this shit about the Blazers going 7 with the Lakers. That did not materialize. Obviously, Dame didn't play in the last game. I don't think that really mattered too much. The Lakers just dominated in the post. They lived at the free throw line. So, yeah, I will eat my words. Take that one on the chin. But what are we looking forward to now? I know that the Clips are still going with the Mavs. I think that's live right now. And then you got the Rockets and the Thunder that need to finish up. And yeah, but what are we looking forward to in round two?
Um, so who would the Lakers be playing? The winner of
So if
which one?
so I think I before the series started, I thought Denver was going to take it, but Denver does not play any defense at all. It's really
No.
hard to watch. The Jazz have been just taking it to them. So the Jazz are the fifth seed, and I think they're going to make it. So it would be Jazz Lakers in round two.
I think that's gonna be a pretty interesting matchup. I think they could compete. Nah, either team. I think they could compete. I mean, it's just like the Blazers. Y'all were talking about, oh, like they could compete, and what they only won one game. I think they'll get at least two. And look, the Lakers got to play good every time. I'm telling you, if I look on the screen again and I see Danny Green missing shots, it's not gonna work.
Oh man, listen, I'm not gonna pull a Paul Pierce again and talk shit about the Lakers, man. I'm done. I'm done being the Paul Pierce of this podcast, bro. I'm
I didn't say
honestly
they were
gonna
gonna
eat up.
lose. I said they're gonna give them a good matchup.
I'm gonna eat up my own words, like Meg said. I had high expectations on the Blazers, but then like I noticed, then the Lakers really play well if they want to. Like that first game was a joke, and if the Lakers wake up, and Rajon Rondo is also playing good, if the Lakers wake up, there's no way, man. And the way I see it, the Jazz, how the Jazz are playing, yeah, I mean, big props for the Jazz, especially Donovan Mitchell. But come on, man. I
Yeah,
don't
I
even
don't.
think the Jazz would win the Blazers, bro. To be honest,
You don't
on
think there's
a
gonna be any kind of like challenge or anything? I'm not doubting that the Lakers are gonna lose because I know
nah,
they're gonna win. You have LeBron and AD. Like I think that's good enough. So
I give at least
Yeah,
one game to the Jazz. I don't see them winning more than that.
I
Or the Nuggets.
so one thing on the Blazers before I kind of wrap that bow up. They were really banged up, man. CJ had the back problem. Dame had the knee, had something going on with his hand. I think I kind of discredited that a little bit going into the series. Obviously, Zach Collins didn't even get off the bench to play in that series. I think if all those players are at 90% health, it looks a little bit different. But all being all, the Lakers really took it to them there in game 2 and 3, and it just wasn't enough. In terms of the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell has just been playing out of his mind. Like I said, the Nuggets don't play any defense at all, but he's been picking them apart. And Clarkson off the bench is just a splash, dude. He gets these crazy buckets from everywhere on the court. It's really fun to watch when he's high volume and he's making shots. Obviously, it's pretty frustrating when he just keeps hucking and he's tossing up bricks. But in terms of the Jazz Lakers, yeah, I mean, I could see the Jazz getting one game. Would I be surprised if they got two? No, but they're not getting more than two, is kind of how I see it.
definitely. So the next one I want to mention is the Clippers and
Yep.
Mavs. I thought
Rockets.
they were, or yeah, well, yeah, I was just saying like for the first round.
Oh,
I
okay. Yep.
thought the Mavs could compete a little bit more, but I know with the Chris Stapps injury, I'm
hmm
pretty sure Luca's kind of banged up too. They're just not gonna admit it until after they lose. So
Right.
I thought
I
about
think.
that matchup this
yeah,
morning, and I was like, man, if the Mavs win and take this to Game 7, just hypothetically, that's gonna be wild. But I mean, once again, they would need Porzingis for sure, and there's just no way. But hey, the Clippers got lucky on Porzingis' injury though, because I don't know how far these Mavs could go if Porzingis was healthy. Because that's a lot of
Yeah,
weight
that is true.
on Doncic. So I don't know,
Uh,
man.
live live update right now. The Clippers are up 81-63
yeah,
in the third quarter with
That's
3 minutes left. So it's looking like it's over for the Mavs potentially.
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that Rockets Clippers matchup could be pretty interesting. I think it's going to be really tough for the Rockets because the Clippers have so many wing defenders that can, stop players on the Rockets that kind of have the athleticism and that kind of general, height range. So I think that's a bad matchup for the Rockets. But I think the East really interests me. We're talking about Bucks, Miami Heat, and we're talking about the Nets and the Celtics. And the Celtics took it to the Nets or not the Nets,
Raptors,
the Celtics and the
Raptors.
Raptors. Yeah, correct. Celtics took it to the Raptors today. But what about the East? Do we see Miami being competitive here against the Bucks?
Well, first let me go real quick, Tiago. It's early. It's early. Give them a chance. I feel like Toronto can, just challenge them a little. Just give them a chance. I know
Man.
exactly what you about to say. You about to say, I knew it. Toronto sucks. I know it. But nah, I see the Celtics coming out of that one. And that Miami and Milwaukee one, that's gonna be a pretty interesting one. I want to see how that game one goes. So
hmm
I obviously don't have a side on that one. So I'm kind of just interested to see how that matchup is kind of going to turn out.
I'm not gonna go too further on the Miami Heat game because obviously gonna be biased on this series, and I obviously expect the Heat to win. And even if I'm being realistic to myself, I think we can win the matchup because I think Giannis is getting banged up too, bro. He's been putting crazy numbers because he looks like he's playing alone sometimes. So
Yeah.
at some point, I don't know, man. We can beat Giannis. I believe that, but. About the the Toronto and the Celtics, man. I honestly want Toronto to win because I think like if we actually beat the Bucks, we can beat Toronto, and the Celtics would be a problem. But I just don't see it happening, man. The Celtics are solid as hell, and I mean, yeah, I talked shit about Toronto, but I don't think the problem was even Lowry choking, man. I think the problem was just the Celtics are just a better team. They've been balling out, and they're on a streak, man. I know it was swept for both sides, but I mean, come on, playing the Nets is not playing the Sixers right now, and it's true,
Yeah.
man. It's true, and the Celtics are just fired up, man. I think if they keep it up, they might just sweep the Raptors too, man. I don't know. I hope that doesn't
Yeah.
happen because that
So
means they're going to play fired up on the conference finals, and I don't want that.
right. I think that the Miami Heat can compete with the Bucks. I think that if Miami were to win the series, it would require great play from Adebayo, and it would also require just incredible 3-point shooting, great percentages, and also doing really well at the free throw line. I think Jimmy Butler is a player that you're going to need to get some offense from, kind of more than usual in this type of series. And Butler really struggled actually from beyond the 3-point line this season, so that's something that they would need. But I'm looking at guys like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and Goran Dragic. They're going to have to come up huge if Miami's going to get that series. And then with the Raptors and the Celtics. Watching, like you said, Tiago, watching the Celtics, mop up the Sixers in the first round, that's a whole different animal than going against the Raptors. But the Celtics are playing great basketball. And I know the Gordon Hayward injury is tough because that limits their depth in the rotation. And he was just kind of that fourth wing that can score, facilitate, and, play a little bit of defense. But I don't think that the Raptors are as talented as the Celtics, and that's
No.
kinda how I just see it point blank, really.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of Jason Tatum and his talents, and that's obviously that he's the head of the team right now. But once again, Marcus Smart, man, uh, wow, because that's the thing. Celtics, they have the talent over the Raptors. They do with Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, Kemba Walker. But man, the hustle too. Like Marcus Smart is the heart and soul of that team, and I would say that every time I see that man on the field. It's crazy, and it will keep being crazy. I swear to God, if they go to the finals, I don't think they would beat the Lakers in the finals or the Clippers. But if they won, I would give the Finals MVP to Marcus Smart, bro. I'd be like, just take it, man. You're like Iguodala of this team, man. You deserve
Yeah.
it. Dude is
Smart
everywhere.
Smart is one of those guys on the Celtics that, he doesn't get the publicity, he kinda gets slept on a little bit, but there's that cliche saying that he just does so much that isn't necessarily represented in, the stat sheet, and he's
No,
kinda, like you said, kinda just the heart and soul of the team, and I like watching him play, and, he has times where he does go off offensively, and that's kinda just a added bonus thrown in.
but it doesn't need to. That's the thing. It does, the Celtics have enough offensive power. He knows his role. That's what I'm saying. He's not trying to do
Right.
more than he's supposed to. That's why it's such a joy to watch him on the field. The guy is just
Mhm.
he looks humble enough to know his role and know what he has to do and just don't do more than he's asked to. That's perfect because that
Yeah,
doesn't create a conflict. See,
and
that's
that's
the difference between not
yeah,
having Kyrie on the team or not. Because Kyrie, although Kyrie is a great player, he's just try to take the game on himself sometimes. And he doesn't have a role. Kyrie's Kyrie, while Kemba Walker, for example, knew his role. So the same way as Marcus Smart and everybody on the Celtics team. So I think
Mhm.
like it's such a different thing to watch this team without Kyrie. It reminds me of when they went to play the conference finals against LeBron when Kyrie was injured the first season. It's just a very strong and how do I say it? Persistent team, if that's the word. I don't know. They're just
Yeah.
consistent. That's it. The consistent team.
yeah, and it's good too that the Celtics are kind of finding their groove too, and at this point in the playoffs, and of course we got to see how it rolls into game two, but like for a team to be able to find out how to work together, and especially like losing a player like Hayward and still being able to ball out like this, that's pretty tough. So we just got to see how it works out going into game two, and if they could really get it down pat, it's going to be rough for the Raptors and whoever their next round opponent will be. So
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. I think just the depth that the Celtics have at the wing position is pretty unique. Not a lot of teams have, a lineup where they can roll out potentially Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown. Like those are like bona fide threats from the wing position, and not a lot of teams have the players that can go match up with those players across the board. So I think that's one of the unique aspects of what the Celtics have going on. And then before we hop over to the NFL quickly, I want to ask you guys about your thoughts on, so here in the bubble, which we all know is a unique situation, round two has already started, right? So the Celts and the Raptors were finished up, so they just went ahead and played. But obviously, we're still seeing round one games in the Western Conference. What do you guys think about them playing games as soon as possible? And obviously, that's not something that usually occurs if it were, a regular season.
I did notice that today. I didn't even think like twice about it, but glad you brought it up. That's kind of I think it's going to be concerning for some players, because as you get closer to the finals, some people are going to be way ahead of their series, whereas like let's say like the Eastern Conference like started, and they're already 2 games in, the West didn't even start yet. They may bring that up as a problem. So I'm I'm
Hmm.
still kind of conflicted on that one. I maybe they should have waited and just like you know um like start at the same times, but it's also pretty tough because not every series is going to 4 or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, the whole situation is already awkward enough with the virus thing, man. It's already been a mess that the NBA stopped and they have to resume on the bubble, and now this thing. There's always going to be controversies, and people are saying that this won't count as a real NBA title or whatever. Man, for me, it's just basketball, man. Just keep playing. Like at this point, like for what it's worth, it's just basketball. It's going to be a mess anyways, and everybody's aware that the virus came and all of that happened, and they got to figure out these situations in the bubble, and they got to play with what they have. And yeah, there were a lot of sweeps on the East too, so uh, teams had more time to rest or whatnot. Man, just play. And that's just play, man. I don't have nothing else to say. This will count for me.
Yeah.
In my eyes, this will count as another NBA title because the guys out there are doing their best and putting efforts day in day out. So don't worry
Yeah. I
about
know.
those things too much.
I know, I agree with you. I don't think there's any asterisk on it. Whoever wins, is the rightful winner for a variety of reasons. This whole bubble
Yeah,
situation hasn't been easy for anyone, really, I imagine. But my only concern with the situation is, so I'll give an example. The Lakers just finished off the Blazers in five, and the Nuggets and Jazz are going. If the Jazz win the next game, it's over. But what if the Nugs win? That series goes seven. You got the Lakers chilling, resting, recovering, and then you got the Jazz, one day later having to go right back into it. So I just think that in terms of days off, it does get a little interesting in terms of how the schedule is going. But like you guys said,
but
you kind of have to do the
yeah,
best you can.
but here's a thinking about it. Here is a good part of it though, is that they don't have to travel, so they're just
yeah.
walking to their hotel room and they're walking back. So I guess in that case, it's fine if these players have to turn around and play the next day or 2 days from now, and another team rests because they're all in the same spot. So
Listen,
Hmm.
I could understand it.
on my eyes, a team that sweeps another team or wins 4 games in a row, totally deserves the rest. Listen, are they
Right.
really going to use that excuse? Like, if you wanna have days off, just beat the other team faster, I guess. Just be better.
Exactly.
It reminds me of people last season saying, "Oh, Brady only got eliminated because he didn't have time to rest because he lost the last game to the Dolphins and win the last game to the Dolphins." God damn it! Like, if you want to have that bye week on the playoffs, you got to be better. That's on you. That's on the team. That's not something that the league chooses. That's on you. Yeah,
Mhm.
you lost the last game. You're gonna play the wild card. That's the same thing as I see in the NBA. You go to game seven, that's because, well, maybe you were not good enough to sweep them, and then you gotta live with that. That's not unfair. For me, it's more than fair.
Yeah, that thought popped into my head kind of just as I had finished speaking earlier. There's certainly an advantage to, wiping somebody out and sweeping them straight up because, you provided yourself an opportunity to have that rest. And like you said, Tiago, you earned it at that point. Um, but now, kind of, there's still some games to be played in the West, but we're kind of wrapping up here in round one, heading to round two. So there's going to be a lot of great matchups there. I can't wait to watch all that basketball. But we're gonna wrap here today with some NFL talk. Like I said earlier, the season's starting quite soon. Actually, it doesn't really feel like it's starting because it's not the
Nah.
usual training camp. The whole OTAs back early in the year. We didn't have that whole thing, so the season's kind of coming up slowly here, and it's going to be. I'm real happy. I'm excited, but I have kind of just a mailbag of questions here that we can pose, and if anybody has some, toss them out. So we've talked about this already in previous episodes, but Tom Brady out there in Tampa Bay now. What can we expect from Brady at his age this season with the weapons he has? Will it be elite play, or will we see some more regression like we did in some senses last year in terms of his numbers?
I think you're gonna see elite play. Maybe not as crisp and clean as a younger player, but he's still a great football player, and I think you're gonna see good football.
I don't see it working this year. That coach, I really have a lot of respect for the Tampa Bay's, for the Buccaneers coach, but his scheme just doesn't work on the first year quarterbacks with him. We've seen that before, and we'll see that again. He takes a lot of risks, which is good long term because if the QB is just used to taking those risks will pay off as getting a lot of yardage and getting a lot of points on the board. But on the first year, I think this year we're going to see Brady throwing a lot of interceptions, something that we are not used to. I think he's gonna be a target for a lot of criticism, and it's gonna be like a Jameis Winston kind of season because Winston had that same. He only had one season with his coach too, and we saw what happened. But I mean, Jameis is already a guy who threw a lot of interceptions, so I'm not gonna go there. But I think we'll see Brady doing some stuff, some bad stuff that we are not used to seeing with him because Bill Belichick just has a different game plan and a more safe game plan than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. But one thing that I'm excited to is watching that duo, Brady Gronkowski again. I mean, they're both old. Gronkowski is a lot of banged up, but he's always a target that Brady trusts. So on the other hand, it's a great and he has a great wide receiver group out
Hmm.
there. So I don't know, man. I don't think he's going to be brilliant. He might make the playoffs. He might not. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. But I just don't have expectations for this year for the Buccaneers, man. Not big ones, at least. Maybe the second year though.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of up and down with Brady this year. Like you said, he is coming into somewhat of a new system with Bruce Arians, who was formerly with the Cardinals in Arizona, and Carson Palmer wasn't quite the age that Tom Brady is now, but Carson Palmer was, kind of an elder statesman in the NFL when he was putting up all those crazy numbers in the desert under Arians' offensive system. So I think that Brady will, be afforded the opportunities to succeed in an Arians offense. I think one of the biggest things here is how well their offensive line will be able to hold up and protect him because his ability to maneuver in the pocket and kind of scamper, it's not what it once was. Not that it was ever actually that great, but if he's getting hit a lot, it's going to be a problem. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see what he'll be able to do, most specifically because of the weapons that he has, Godwin, Evans, and we'll see what Gronk's able to do in return. But I think it'll be, by and large, some up and down. And like you said, Thiago, I wouldn't be surprised if they do or don't make the playoffs. There's a real tough team there in New Orleans in their division that will have something to say about that.
Definitely.
Um, Speaking of quarterbacks, let's go to the team that Brady
Cam
left in free
Newton.
agency. Let's talk about the Patriots and Cam Newton. Dealt with the injuries. Seemed like there was a little bit of drama there in Carolina, just in terms of how things wrapped up. I think Cam thought that he probably should have been treated better, and his play formerly, as being an MVP and being pretty damn good for a lot of seasons there, deserved better than what he got. But what should we expect of Cam now in a new system with a pretty good coordinator in McDaniels, obviously a great coach in Belichick? Will he be able to return to playing great football?
Yeah, well, first of all, being from the Carolinas and seeing how terrible they did Cam really kind of, kills me inside because I mean, he was a solid player. Like, not was, he still is a solid player to me at least. Um, I mean, he brought them to a Super Bowl and all that. You got to think about these things. So it's kind of crazy that they were just willing to just give up on him like that. And of course, I don't know all the backstory to everything that's happened between them,
Hmm.
but just looking from my point of view, it's kind of trash. Um, but being in New England, though, I think things will work out. As you can see, I'm very optimistic with all these quarterbacks. I think it'll work out. Obviously, he's not going to come in there and be the greatest player on earth, but He's gonna come in there. He's gonna try to play good football, and that's all you can ask for. So
Unfortunately, I have to disagree, man. I don't think. I think the no, no, no. I listen. I have utter respect for Cam, but the fact that they only gave him a 1 year contract, that is a sign that he's not going to stay there. I see the Patriots having Cam just for the shits and giggles of not having a terrible season, and that's it. That's basically it, man. And I feel bad for him because listen, I have a lot of respect for Cam Newton, and I think what the Panthers did to him. Oh my god, I mean, I kind of liked the franchise, especially because I'm a big Christian McCaffrey fan, a huge Christian McCaffrey fan. But I was a Cam Newton fan too, so I'm kind of looking, I'm kind of mad at the Panthers themselves, like the franchise itself. Like I'm not a Panthers fan, but if I was, I would be like, damn, fuck this team. Like you just don't throw a quarterback like that. One thing is the Dolphins throwing like Ryan Tannehill off the bridge because, well, just you're Tannehill. But one thing is throwing, another thing is throwing Cam Newton. Man, he did a lot for the franchise. He put the Panthers on the map when they were like nobody cared about them. And what I have when it comes to him on the Patriots, I think he might be a nice fit, like you said, Kyle, because Cam is still a great player. He can throw the ball. He can still run with it, and he can work with Bill Belichick. But I just don't see him. I just don't see him staying there. This is a move by the Patriots to be relevant because well, they used to be relevant for what 20 years now in a row.
well, then let me ask you this: so if he does leave, do you think he's still gonna have a job? Because he was out of a job for a
Yeah,
while. So
yeah.
what is he
I
gonna be able
think
to move to another team or what?
I think
If
that
he
depends
does,
on Cam. I think that depends on Cam. The way that he plays this season, because listen, if I was Cam right now, I would have to see this season in one simple way. That is, I'm not going to be here next year, but what I do this year, it's going to guarantee me a job next year or not. That's it. This
Exactly.
is this is your last chance because the Panthers doubting him and the shit that went down with him that can ruin someone's career, and we see that happen before. So now he's on a very awkward Brett Favre situation, because Brett Favre, as soon as he went for the Jets, that didn't really work out, but he found a new ways to revive his career on the Vikings. So I see Cam Newton as a sort kind of the same situation. So you're on this 1 year with the New England Patriots. You're probably not going to be their next quarterback because the new class is coming. They might get a hold or trade for Trevor Lawrence. I don't know, but you got to see this season as your last chance to prove yourself because next year you want to have that 3 year, 4 year guaranteed from another team or the Patriots, which I don't think is going to happen. But it all depends on the way you play. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up being a backup QB. That's it. I think he's gonna have a
Yeah,
job, yes, but as a backup QB, if it does not do well this year.
I would agree about Cam. I think that he obviously wanted more money. He wanted an
Mhm.
opportunity with guarantees to come into a team and be the starting quarterback from the get go. And he's not even fully getting that. I think it's expected that he'll be the starting quarterback, but Jared Stidham's still there in New England. And I think that they like him a little bit. So it's still a competition. But I think Cam signed a prove it deal this year. There's incentives. I think they could possibly earn him like 7.5 million this year, but he's clearly playing for like, hey, I got to prove that my shoulder's back to normal, my foot's not banged up, that I can go out, kind of be my old self and whip the ball around the yard. Because if he's not able to do that, there's no way any team's giving him a 3 to 4
No,
year deal with any real guaranteed money. So this is, I think, a lot of people have seen, his videos and his whole, kind of mantra of like, they counted me out. I'm coming back to like show y'all that like I was the truth, and I'll get back to that level that I was at. So I don't know if Cam will return to it, but I do know that McDaniels and Belichick will create a system for Cam where his traits and abilities that he excels at, he'll be able to take advantage of that. So there will be, some read option situations. There will be, opportunities for deep slants, which is a great pass that he was really good at making for a long time there in Carolina. But yeah, do I see him staying in New England past this year? No, not
no,
really. I think that the Patriots are probably looking to see how this season really goes down. If it's a bad year, probably select a quarterback pretty high. I don't think that they'll be in the running for Trevor Lawrence unless shit really hits the fan or they make a trade up. But I'm excited to see what Cam Newton does as a fan of the game and just to see kind of what his comeback is because it's definitely, at the point where it's kind of almost now or never for him, really.
I see the Patriots looking at Josh Rosen, and that's something I've been saying for a while now. And the I think the only reason the Dolphins didn't let him go on these free agencies because they knew that Belichick would pick him up. And listen, Rosen, I say Rosen because Rosen is definitely a system quarterback, and if he would have success in one team, it would be the Patriots. So if you, as a Dolphins GM, if you let go of Josh Rosen and then he ends up having great career in New England, that's going to be bad for the franchise. That's one thing I know, and for a fact that we didn't let him go on free agency. Another thing I want to talk about here is that if he goes out next season, the Patriots are going to sweep him up because we keep forgetting that Josh Rosen has been putting on a bad situation after bad situation. And people saying, "Oh no, when he has the time to play, he doesn't play nice." Well, he doesn't have an O line. He doesn't have a receiving core. He only had Larry Fitzgerald on the Cardinals, and honestly, I don't think he had that bad of a season. But whatever people say, they say he's a bust. I don't think he is. And if he's put on a great system like the Patriots are right now, with a good running back, with decent wide receivers, and a good O line, and especially over everything, a good coach that can trust him and make him become, that system quarterback they need. Josh Rosen would have a great shot of being the franchise QB of that team. So you don't have to aim for Trevor Lawrence because that means you'll have to have a terrible season to have that first pick. Just aim for Josh Rosen if you need him, because I think he would be a nice fit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I've kind of seen enough from Rosen, not a fan. But I kind of think about it like this. I know that the Cardinals were a little bit better last year, but they still weren't a great team. You look at what Kyler Murray was able to accomplish there compared to just the god awful football that Rosen played. And I know he wasn't protected by the line, but I
Exactly.
just I don't see him being a viable starting quarterback in the NFL. But if there's any coach that could probably, shape him up and turn him into a system quarterback, I'd say you're right. It's probably Belichick.
I think it's way different than Kyler Murray. I see Kyler Murray as one of those quarterbacks that reminds me of Lamar Jackson. Like if you don't have an O line, you can at least run or improvise. It's kind of an improviser quarterback overall, and that makes
That
a
is
whole
true.
difference when you look at the team. So Josh Rosen is not an improvising quarterback. He doesn't run off the pocket that much or at all, but he has the arm and he has the vision and he has the accuracy. The problem is like when you have like 1 second to throw the ball, you're not gonna have any accuracy, and then that can get into your head. So put yourself in his shoes, man. You got drafted by the Cardinals. You have a, let's say, a decent to negative season, and then after your first season, you get traded and you get forgotten. After Kyler Murray, you go to the Dolphins. You don't even have the starting job. You get put into a bad situation once again mid season with a horrible team and no receivers. You do bad again, obviously. Like any quarterback that wouldn't be Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson would, or Russell Wilson, you do bad, people stop trusting you again, and then you're always on these bad situations where you never had a chance to prove yourself. I mean, come on, man. We've seen players in the NFL only rising on their third or fourth season for some reason. Players being slapped on until they are put into the right situation. So, I mean, even great players like Randy Moss had bad seasons on the Raiders, for example. They were just not on the right. It's true, man. So you got to face it.
No, I'm laughing because you're 100% correct.
So if you ask me if Josh Rosen would have a lot of success on the Pats, yes, he would, and I hate that because I'm a Rosen fan. I like him being on the Dolphins, and I hate the Pats. So I'd be dying on the inside by seeing Rosen having a ton of success with Bill Belichick. Hey, remember he's the same age as Kyler Murray. He's 22 or 21 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only a
So
year or two older, but
don't
yeah.
at least 1 year older, but he's the same age of
Mhm.
who? Lamar Jackson, I think. I saw a comparison a few days ago, but
Yeah.
whatever. He's 21,
Mhm.
22, and you're already calling him a bust after playing for the Cardinals and the Dolphins. You might want to
No, I'm
rethink
not.
that.
I'm not. Look. Let's wrap this up here quickly because we don't need to spend any more time talking about Josh Rosen. But I don't think that he's a bust. A, I don't think he's very good. B, wouldn't label him a bust. But if I'm a team like the Patriots, I'm not looking at him as a viable option to be a
I
starting
am.
quarterback that
I
I'm going
am.
to take my franchise forward with and hope to have deep success moving on through the playoffs. Sure, can he be a stopgap and kind of play the quarterback position for a year or two till you fully solidify your organizational plan and how you want to proceed? Yeah, why not? But I just don't think he's gonna get you to the promised land. Is I
Okay.
guess what I'm saying.
Okay.
Josh
Okay.
Rosen.
Let's segue here. Last question about the NFL. So I put this one together. I thought it was kind of interesting. So the Chargers, Rams, and Browns, from some had some, decent expectations for last year's 2019 season. By many accounts, they kind of, failed in large part to succeed. But now in 2020, which of these teams are we looking at as a possible bounce back and to make some noise and possibly even extend that noise into the playoffs? Chargers, Rams, or Browns?
Um, Out of these three, immediately, I just want the Browns to do better.
No.
That's just my first go-to. I just want them to do better. That's it. There's nothing more to it.
Oh my god.
You have like a
So you
solid
want
team
them
too.
to, but of those teams, do you think that they will be the one
You
that
know,
is
No.
most successful?
I'm kinda doubtful because I mean, dude, they're just the Browns. And then,
The Browns.
I
They do.
like
They did bring in a new head coach, the offensive coordinator from Minnesota. So I
yeah,
think Freddie Kitchens was a god awful coach. That was a disaster.
but it's also tough too because I like Baker. I think it's good, but as far as like trying to lead the team and to success and all that, I want them to do good. I want them to do good. I just don't know. I'm kind of doubtful. Like I said, I like if I had to choose, that's who I'm going to choose. I want to see them do good. If I'm going to follow a team out of these three, I want to follow the Browns. They have solid pieces, and they just brought in these new coaches. But I just want to see Baker just do a little bit better. I just need to see a
Oh
little bit
my
more
Yeah,
improvement.
god.
he just
Uh,
needs to. He just in everything that he does, he just needs to be more consistent because he shows you glimpses at times in terms of what kind of the arm talent, kind of fitting balls into tight windows. But then there's times where you just look at him and you're like, you threw that ball into triple coverage. Like, what were you seeing? Like, tell me, please. But I think of these teams, so let's also say that the Rams play in a tough division, the NFC West. The Browns also play in a tough division in the AFC North because obviously you have the Ravens and the Steelers there. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I think the Chargers
no.
have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball and on offense. The biggest question is obviously who's gonna play quarterback. It seems like Tyrod Taylor, at least at the get go, is gonna, get the nod. Will it be Herbert come week 6? Who knows? Or will the Chargers be successful with Tyrod Taylor? It's a
Wait.
possibility. But I like the pieces that the Chargers have, and I think that you certainly have the Chiefs in the AFC West, but other than that, I wouldn't say there's any clear cut second team because then you have, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. Who's better? Uh,
The
I think
Raiders.
it's tough to say. I think only the season will tell that.
Oh my god, man. Josh Jacobs is about to have the breakout season for your own team, and you're talking about the Chargers. What?
My
Hey,
man, I've
hey.
been watching Raiders football for so many years now, and yeah, you're right. The Raiders do have some really nice pieces, but will the secondary be able to
Lakers.
hold up at all this year? The
Oh
same
my
problems
god.
over the last years. They brought in some linebackers, some reinforcements. Will they play well? Who knows? They brought in Tahir Whitehead and other linebackers in the past in free agency. Didn't work out. So I'm not stacking any chips on the Raiders till I see it, and that's why I'd say the Chargers of these 3 teams, and it's not
Nah.
just because of the Raiders, it's just the lesser teams in the AFC West. All right, Tiago, what do you got for me? I see you
Of
disagreeing
of
over here.
of these
Going
three,
crazy.
of these three, I hate to say it, but
Uh-huh.
I think the Rams are still the better team out of the three. Man, you got a
Mhm.
nice defense with Aaron Ramsey and Aaron Donald.
Yep. Jalen Ramsey, combine the
Jalen
names. There
Ramsey,
we go.
yeah, no, my bad. I was thinking about Aaron Donald
Super,
instead of
super
Aaron
player.
Ramsey. Yeah, no, yeah, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, and then the offense is not that bad too. I know that you lost Todd Gurley, but if you think about what Todd Gurley did last season, it might not have been that much of a loss. Anyways, I'll keep this simple. The Browns are the Browns, and you can do whatever. I mean, they've been doing so many changes the past years, but the Browns are the Browns. If you want to change something, you got to change the whole thing. You got to go deeper than the head coach, man. That organization is just I don't know, man. It's a void and a dark hole for players, for good players to just not make the playoffs. Because I'm a true Nick Chubb believer, and
Yeah, he's a beast.
not a big OBJ fan, but a Jarvis Landry fan. And for me, Mayfield and OBJ, they both kind of overrated, man. I mean, hate me for saying it, but listen,
Oh, I think it's fair.
Mayfield, he was good, like coming out of Tyrod Taylor when he came off the bench and he surprised everybody on those couple games that he played. yeah, I have respect for him, but then he got exposed last season with nice receivers,
Yeah.
with bad decision making, like you said. And bad decision making is something hard to teach quarterbacks, at least on the short term. Because look at Jameis Winston, man, he's the bad decision king, and he's still doing shit like that. I hope it changes on the Saints, but that's something you just not. It's hard to change that mentality. OBJ, man, he's way too cocky for the player he is. Dude got to be more humble and stop crying if he doesn't have as much targets. Because right now, for me, the best receiver on that team and the most reliable receiver on that team is Jarvis Landry by far. Dude can do way more than OBJ and cry way less than OBJ. So if I was there, I would throw it to Jarvis. And then you got two nice running backs in Nick Chubb and
Mm-hmm.
Hunt.
Hunt. Yep.
Although all the controversy around Hunt, but I mean, I just don't think they are a solid team overall. You got all this star potential that works on Madden. It sure does work on
That
Madden,
is true.
but this is not Madden. This is real life. There's got to be chemistry. There's got to be less crying, more playing. And a lot of these players, all they do is cry. So no, that's a no go for the Browns. And going to the Chargers, I don't trust Herbert. I've seen Tyrod Taylor play before. He's below average
You
quarterback.
haven't even seen him play in the NFL.
Man, come on.
Hey,
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying.
I will tag on with Thiago there. I wouldn't say I don't trust him, but I don't have extremely high expectations for Herbert,
Talk
especially
about
at
bad
least in year
decisions.
one.
Yes, talk about
Uh,
bad
I
decisions.
didn't like him a whole lot coming out of Oregon, but you are right, Kyle. Though he hasn't played down in the NFL, so we certainly need to wait and
I
Not a
see
hope
what
he
he
proves me
can
preseason
do.
wrong.
game, not anything. He's just been in practice.
I hope he proves me wrong
Hmm.
because I like the Chargers, and especially I'm a big Joey Bosa fan, and I think that defense
Hmm.
deserves a lot more love than they get. And obviously Eckler and the receiving squad and all that. But I don't think the Chargers is going to be solid enough this year, especially because of the quarterback situation. It's just not going to work out. So yeah, if you ask me between the Raiders and the Chargers, I can see the Raiders doing better, man. I got a lot of trust in their
Oh,
running back.
I for sure can too. One hundred
Jo-
percent.
Josh
Obviously.
Jacobs is a beast, man. You cannot forget that dude. Is like he's balling.
Hmm. He's an animal. I mean, the biggest thing for the Raiders is always the quarterback play and always what the secondary and the linebacking core is able to do. And it's just been so bad for so many years. And they brought in new players, Kwiatkowski and Littleton from the Rams, and they drafted. We'll see if what they did in the secondary pans out. But like I said, I'm not gonna count on it until I see it, and I hope I do because I think you're right. If those things do work out for them, the pieces they have on offense, and if Derek Carr can, be serviceable, yeah, you're right. They're definitely more talented than the Chargers.
And don't forget
But
you got Marcus Mariota out there, man. Marcus is
yeah,
another big what if for me. Marcus is one of those guys that I think he just got thrown into a bad situation too because he's not a bad quarterback if you think about it. Like he did nice things at Tennessee. He was just not working out last season. And yeah,
mhm,
Tannehill definitely worked better because Tannehill has a different role than Mariota. Tannehill is just like he allows a way more running game. It doesn't have to be on the spotlight like Mariota was because there was a lot of expectations around Mariota. But now that you're not, on the spotlight, now that nobody expects anything else from you because he's just like a backup QB, you might be able to take that next step on the Raiders. I'm not hating on Derek Carr, but it's just been too many years without no significant improvement from his position and
yeah.
not taking the Raiders anywhere. So you might want to give Mariota a chance or two and see how it goes.
I think you're right. If Carr come week 6, 7, or 8, if he's just really not getting it done, I don't think
Mhm.
Gruden's gonna wait. He wants to win now. He's gonna toss Mariota in there and see what Mariota can do with the weapons around him. But
Might
let's
work.
just finish here. Sorry, were you gonna hit something there?
No, I was just gonna like conclude because we were talking about the three teams and when it
Hmm.
comes to them, I think my pick has to be the Rams being better, man. It's just
Okay,
it depends a lot on Jared Goff too because I don't see him as a great QB, but out of the three, man, it's a no-brainer for me.
that is fair. I think we all had different answers there, so good stuff. Last rapid fire question. Initial gut reaction for both of you. Will Lamar Jackson repeat as the league's MVP?
Yes.
No,
Yes. Okay,
no.
we got yes, yes, no. Why no? Quickly, why no?
I think he's gonna have a great season, not an MVP like season. The NFL has a history of one hit wonders, which I'm not saying Lamar Jackson is. Hold up, I think he's gonna have a great season. But why not the MVP season? Defenses watch game tape, and when someone like Lamar Jackson starts doing what he did last year, it's a surprise for everybody, and it's kind of hard to adapt in only one season, because some teams play him twice and all of that. But we saw teams locking him up on the playoffs. So after what I see him on the playoffs, what I mean is the defense is going to have a different approach on Lamar Jackson next year, for sure. There's a lot of game tape to watch. There's a lot of video. There's a lot of study to do, but definitely he's not going to run as much. He's not going to have as many opportunities that he did last season because he was a surprise. He will have a great season. He will be on the all team and all of that. He's going to be on the top 3 quarterback, top 4, whatever, but not an MVP season for sure.
Yeah, I think that the only, as I see it right now, there's certainly always dark horse candidates, but I'd say clearly Patrick Mahomes is his
Hmm.
biggest competition for the MVP going into the season. I would have liked to see Baltimore go get one more wide receiver to toss across on the other side with Hollywood Brown, but they do have a few great tight ends. I think that Lamar is so dynamic and the weapons that they have, it's going to be another just roll through the league offensive type season for the Ravens. And yeah, you're right. Every year, when a player has a great season and gets the MVP, defenses kind of restructure their game plan in terms of how they want to attack the Ravens and Jackson more specifically. But I think the threat that he poses in his ability to run with his legs and just how nimble and agile he is to just avoid tacklers so often, I don't think there's no game plan that you can draw up for that. And I think that's the biggest reason why he'll be MVP again is because, yeah, you can practice X, Y, and Z, but in the game, when you're 5 feet away from him and he's about to shimmy on you and cross you up, like there's no game plan there, man. Like sink or swim pretty much. So
You
that's my
know,
thoughts about
you
Lamar.
know who I think might get the MVP, and if I'm right, I really want to go back to this episode and prove the world that I'm a fucking visionary and I know a lot about this shit. I see
All
Kyler
right, let's hear
Murray.
it.
I see Kyler Murray on the
What?
conversation
Hell
for the
yeah.
MVP. Hell yeah! Hey,
I said that shit like 10 weeks ago. I was like, my dark horse MVP, Kyler Murray.
yes,
Yeah, it could
yes.
be.
You can say what as much as you want. Dude is
And I
just
am.
Oh, listen, Lamar Jackson last before this season, he only played a couple of playoffs game and he was not that good. Would you ever think he would be MVP the next year? Hell
No,
no.
no way. Not a
Hell no.
chance.
And now you got Kyler Murray, who had a very decent first year, and he can run the
Oh, yeah.
ball, he can throw the ball, and he has 2 of the best receivers on the game. I mean,
Mhm.
come on, and a great running
Possible.
back too. That offensive weapon, man. He will have yards on the air. He will have yards running. Dude is just gonna be unstoppable, like Lamar Jackson. And I'm gonna throw this to you guys here. And I know we all in the same fantasy league, but hey, I'm gonna try to get that Kyler
You can
Murray on my
have.
fantasy.
I'll give you $10 if you win the
Yeah.
MVP.
Hey, man, I'm just saying, if he proves
Hey,
if he
Kyler
proves
or Kyle, don't put all your money on the line there, bud.
Oh, chill out,
Yeah,
chill out.
all right. If he proves me right, I want y'all to review this episode right here when I said Kyler
We
Murray
will.
might
We
be
will.
the MVP.
We'll
I'm just
gladly
saying.
get a nice little video player if you die before the buzzer hits at your funeral, and we'll just blast this little segment from the podcast. This is Tiago's dying wish to show you all that he was right about the 2020 NFL MVP.
Yes, please trust me.
Um, well, shit. The NFL starts soon. Kind of talked about that. It'll be interesting to see a lot of unknowns this year. Different faces in different places. But yeah, we're all excited. We kind of talked about the postponement across major American sporting leagues with the racial injustices and the unfortunate murder of Jacob Blake. We also talked about the NBA. Maybe some weren't entirely aware, but last week the lottery happened, so draft picks are set. We talked about some of the players that'll be coming in. Is this draft that talented? Who really knows? Only time will tell. Lastly, we talked about the playoffs. Round two is starting soon. Already has in the East, and will be soon for the West. So forward we go. Sports, sports, sports. That concludes today's episode of the Between the Lines podcast. Bang.